Welcome back. This is the home stretch, and we're focused on EHINGBETI 2014. Now, what's EHINGBETI? It's a Lagos Economic Summit taking place from, when's that? I think from the 8th or thereabout. From next week. It's taking place throughout next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's when it's happening, and it's happening in Lagos. Now, the Lagos Economic Summit Group was inaugurated in April 2001 as a framework or structure for private-public partnership for development. That's what they say. The group's membership is drawn from the Lagos Chamber of Commerce, the Nigerian American Business Club, IKEJA, the United Nations Development Program, some special interest groups, and the state government under the chairmanship of the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, with the private sector executive as co-chairman. Now, this edition of EHINGBETI is the 7th one, and is focused on accelerating sustained growth in the economy of Lagos, especially through the creation of vibrant and cost-effective power sector. Because, as they say, an effective and efficient power sector is strategic to economic growth in other growth of other sectors, especially agriculture and food processing. Now, the Commissioner for Agriculture and Cooperatives, Prince Bolaon Lawal, is here and is going to be talking to us. He's one of the guests here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Also here is Bosun Jeje, Lagos State Commissioner for Housing.
Good morning.
Thank you. And on the other side is the friend of Lagosians, Kayode Okpeifa, Commissioner for Transport, Lagos State.
Thank you.
I'm sitting in the midst of commissioners, so I'm an honorary commissioner. Okay.
Emeritus.
Commissioner Emeritus, I don't know, but no. All right, gentlemen, we're looking at EHINGBETI, focused on power, and your three sectors have evolved, need power to succeed. Let's begin. What's your plan for the summit? Let me begin with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. The summit, as we know, the theme is powering Lagos economy, real opportunities and endless possibilities. Agriculture is the major component of our part, that is power, agriculture, and transportation and housing. So for our Greek, without power, or let me say electricity, we are struggling. But if we have stable electricity, we would have the competitive edge that is in dire need. We will be able to reduce poverty drastically, and we'll also create wealth in so many other ways, especially for our smallholder farmers that are the major contributors to the economy.
Okay. Besides agriculture, the issue of housing also. We talked about the focus of Lagos: agriculture, housing, transportation. Now, but why do you think this focus? Why the focus on power particularly?
Thank you very much. It is because power affects every sector of the economy. There's no part to talk about that power will not play a major role. Now that housing is a focus of not only Lagos State, even the federal government is talking about the deficit in housing. And in addressing it, federal government is talking about, statistics talk about 16 million deficit with the federal government, and we have about 1 million deficit in Lagos State. How do we address this deficit? We need aggressive housing policy. Now, Lagos State has started it, and that's what we are taking to the summit. We started addressing it, but we are using conventional methods. And we are looking at it that if we have effective powering, then we can go automated, and we can go vertical. Number one is that Lagos State don't have luxury of land. So the little land that we have, we can't afford the single dwelling units that we've been having all around. So and where we have to go vertical. And when you go vertical, you need powering in those buildings. Because even the physical planning law says, once you get to the 5th floor, there must be an elevator in that building. And even when we are building now, even the 4th floor that physical planning does not regulate that there should be an elevator, we consider that if there's effective power, there should be elevator in those buildings so that people can go with the elevator without climbing the stairs. Even though, as we build now, the 4 floors we are building, we are making carcass of elevators there that in future there must be elevator in these buildings. So we need power for the system buildings, let me call it that, the method of construction that will make it in 1 week, 2 weeks, you can have a structure in place which will take you normally 1 year, 6 months, 2 years before you can construct it. But with effective powering, 2 weeks, you can have a building in place. So it affects housing in different sectors, but that is just in automated way that it can increase housing stock if you have effective powering in place.
Now, Mr. Okbefa, if we look at the situation, the past situation, yes, the private sector-driven platform now with the privatization process that's already started, but then we still have the national grid. So how are we going to power Lagos, seeing that the national grid is still in the hands of government?
No, the discussion on powering Lagos does not suggest that Lagos state government just put a power structure entirely independent of the national power system. What we're talking about on powering is what is the needs for Lagos. Currently, we understand Lagos gets just about 1,000 megawatts of the few 3,000 that the nation can produce, and Lagos needs about 10,000. So what we're talking about now that's even in the hands of the private sector, how do we need to do? How do we situate the Lagos economy? How do we get the investors? How do we get the interest in to ensure that Lagos gets the adequate 10,000 minimum megawatts that is required? So it is not in isolation of what is happening within the context of the nation. Just as we're doing in Lagos, other states of the Federation are also looking into how to solve, how to meet their power needs using the opportunity that currently exists, that is through the public-private partnership that has just begun. So what we're talking about is how do we put our structure, how do we take advantage of all the opportunities? How do we take advantage of the potentials within the states? How do we situate the advantages of the economy of Lagos to the investing community to realize that there is a market here? If you produce the power, the potential exists to consume the power. That is what we're pushing across, that if you produce the power, Lagos has the potential to consume that power. Not only the potential to consume it, the potential to turn that power that is generated into productive economy that will spiral all other sides of the economy.
Okay, Mr. Lawal, the last summit, the 6th summit, you looked at, there were recommendations that came out of that summit.
Resolutions,
now, even as you prepare to go into this 7th summit, how far have you gone with those resolutions?
Thank you very much for that question. At the 6th summit, it was resolved that youth must be empowered. Youth must be attracted to the agricultural sector. And we must also increase our productivity in terms of rice production and traceability of food. You know, Lagos consumes, or let me say, Lagos produces 10% of what is being consumed. There is a wide gulf between the demand and the supply. So with that in mind, we will not just be talking about production, taking produce from different parts of the world, especially interland, you know, and without even knowing the traceability, where are they coming from? So at our level in Lagos, as a mega city, we must put a concerted effort in place, whereby the produce I'm consuming, I should know where it's coming from. You understand? The quality of food I'm eating should be of highest standard. The hygiene level must be scaled up. That is why we are saying, as a state, we should not allow all sort of produce to come into Lagos without normal protocol, that is the inspection. So we have energized there is a major reform going on, especially on the red meat value chain. And there is also a major reform going on in terms of perishable produce. My 12, Okeodo, Nagege, and Badagry. Those are the major markets where produce go to. And as government, we are working seriously with the major stakeholders. We have internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. We have brought them together, letting them to understand why we must scale up our quality. And for rice, from 30 hectares of land cultivated in 2008, we are now at 1,030 hectares. We now have irrigated rice field at Itoga in Badagry. From 1 ton per hectare, we are now 2.8 tons per hectare. We have 3 cottage mills for rice. So because we reduce the drudgeries, as a rice farmer, because as a matter of fact, rice farmer will not even produce rice if he's not sure of where he's going to mill his rice. So we have 3 main cottage mill industry. We have at Itoekin, we have at Ideno, we have at Ise, and we also have at Itoga in Badagry. Aside from the 20,000 metric tons, that is 450,000 to 500,000, 50 kg of rice, that is what we are producing from Imota. So in terms of rice, I think yes, it's still a far cry to the demand, because the demand is about over 1 million tons that come, 2 million tons enters through the normal legal port. Lagos consume half of that. And it's not sustainable. If there's any shock from any of those producing states, it's going to cause volatility in price in the consuming state. That is why we are working at a very, very fast rate to reduce that gulf. And that is where we are. And I want to assure you that youth are now attracted to agriculture on a regular basis. I get text message. We have trained 400 youth in agri-cares. We have trained another 800 in Rice for Job. And government has spent a lot of money to encourage youth. As a matter of fact, for the agri-cares, we have 300 housing units done within 3 years, 2-bedroom flats for graduates of agri-cares.